the topic for today is FDI and institutional quality, empirical evidence from India. The study investigates the impact of India's institutional quality on FDI inflows. It uses a panel data of the top 15 investing nations over the period 2008 to 2018. Now, the study employs augmented gravity model, employing static and dynamic conditions of GMM to identify FDI inflow determinants in India. So I take you through a little introduction part. So the association between institutions and FDI inflows have received significant attention in the recent past, and with liberal policy frameworks becoming commonplace and losing some of their traditional power, countries have been focusing more on the governance and regulatory factors to improve their competitiveness in attracting FDI. The macroeconomic determinants remains the key, but institutions are now playing prominent role. Foreign investors significantly consider institutional quality before investing in the host nations. Hence, they have become more critical than the culture and the cognitive variables in formulating international strategies. While FDI literature significantly emphasizes the need for the quality institutional frameworks, especially in the developing nations like India, to attract more FDI. Well, the institutional and regulatory quality here refers to the ability of the government to formulate and implement sound policies and regulations that permit to promote private sector development by placing uniform rules of economic engagement. And as a matter of fact, realizing the importance of institutional quality, developing nations have been significantly promoting liberal and conducive investment regimes to attract more FDI in the recent past. A conducive business environment enables business conductions, whereas an adverse business environment and regulations hinders the starting and operations of the businesses. Now, I think it gives you a brief idea like why India is into it to improve the institutional quality, because FDI matters most. And ever since the Brexit and the US-China trade war and the pandemic, we see a lot of companies, a lot of MNCs moving out of China and looking for other destinations. In 2018, the Asian region alone has adopted 32 new policy measures related to liberalization, promotion, facilitation of FDI, vis-a-vis 2 restrictive regulations. On the contrary,
China is fast possible to follow the normal rules, but there's certain limitations that could be applicable where this.
Sorry, there is another voice coming in. If you guys, right. Thank you so much.
The developed world introduced 21 investment policy measures to reinforce restrictive regulations, whereas 7 favoring investments. While Asian economies have experienced a substantial rise in FDI flow from 433 billion in 2008 to 539 billion in 2018, registering almost 2% year-on-year growth. Well, over the decade, global FDI flows in India has declined from 3.16 to 2.8%, yet India consistently ranks among the top 5 developing nations receiving maximum FDI. However, across the region, India is quite behind, let's say, Singapore, Indonesia, Hong Kong, and definitely China. So over the years, we see that it has gone down by 10.5% over the years. Now, due to the ongoing pandemic and US-China trade war, developing Asian economies, particularly India, Bangladesh, Vietnam, they are competing to attract most relocated MNCs operations due to global turbulences. So the present study employs GMM method on a bond to investigate the dynamic nature of link between institutional factors and FDI inflows in India. Well, the methodology that we have used is it presents the augmented gravity model to identify determinants that the FDI that's been flowing in India from the top 15 countries, and the major variable of interest is domestic EPU, ease of doing business, and BIT. We have used FE, RE, and GMM specifications. The equations I have mentioned here. Very interestingly, if I look at the results here, so I calculated random, fixed, GMM, and based on the Hosmet test, fixed was better, and based on the the literature review, GMM definitely because of the endogeneity is the best factor. So I'll be discussing the results of both of them. Financial openness that measures the impact of India's investment policies on FDI inflow is positive and consistently significant at 5% levels across GMM and FE models. The absolute difference between GDP per capita is found positively significant across FE and GMM model. This implies that service sector in India attracts FDI due to relative factor endowment. The impact of population growth, as we see, is negative, but it is highly significant, which means that the rising population is driving the nation's income towards ensuring capital for new workers rather than raising capital per worker. resulting in lower productivity among the labor force, and could be the major reason why we aren't getting too much of the manufacturing FDI in India. Well, an institutionally strong nation with sound economic policies and regulations certainly has most prominent role in drawing FDI. And findings indicate that Government of India has been successfully improving nation's institutional quality by offering sustained business reforms and the regulatory business environment and judicial evolution, thus attracting FDI despite the terminations of the BITs. However, enacting the robust domestic law with the strong dispute resolution mechanism signaling investment protection in the absence of BITs may further encourage FDI and is highly endorsed. India must further strategize enhancing human capital and propose liberal labor policies, facilitating FDI inflows, equally in manufacturing sector that is actually helpful in promoting exports. And finally, the study suggests that India must further strategize, that these are the final wordings, So India has to and must strategize enhancing human capital and liberal labor policies, facilitating FDI inflows, equally in manufacturing sector, promoting exports. And we see changes have been made in the labor policies, but yes, India is yet to arrive in attracting, in bringing the institutional quality in what we say in tandem to the growing world and attract the investment FDIs that we have planned for. That's all from my side. Thank you.